Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. There's some interesting points of conversation that I came across on Twitter and I want to share with you. I thought it'd be a fun opportunity for some thought exercises and sharing some opinions from multiple people. The one that caught my attention the most that I'm really looking forward to running through with you is a notable XRP community member who is a chart analyst. And he holds the point of view that just because of the unique position that XRP is in, it has the ability to achieve the highest market cap for the entire asset class. Just compared to any other coin, XRP has the ability to achieve the highest market cap, well, ever. And it has to do with the nature of the way in which it would be used, especially as Ripple is positioning it to be used as a bridge currency for cross-border payments, given that that's a multi-trillion-dollar problem. So I'm going to get into the specifics on that and share with you my thoughts because I don't agree. Now, not that I am disagreeing in terms of potential, in terms of market cap, but it's more so the rationale. I'll have to explain. I also want to speak with you about another thread. That's the one that's on your screen right now. There's a very popular crypto YouTuber, probably the best way to categorize it, his name's Omar, and he runs a channel called Crypto's News, with the O being a 0, so if you want to search for it, that's probably the best way you can find it, Crypto's News. I think there's a Z in there too, actually. It's been a while since I've watched him, but I'm pretty sure it's it. But anyway, he holds the position that basically conceptually, why would banks use XRapid when they can't control it? Why would they use XRP when they can't control it? So we're going to go through it. There's a little Twitter thread between him and Galgatron jumped in, and I'll share my thoughts on it. And then I'll wrap up the video with a piece from CoinDesk titled, "France Says It Will Block Facebook Libra in Europe." Now, before we get going, if you would please, excuse me, I'm sorry, something in my throat today. If you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, and you're happy and you know it, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. It's a reasonable thing to do. You know you want to. So here's the first tweet from Omar. And by the way, I've mentioned him on the channel. It's been a long time. I mean, probably over half a year, back to when I had like less than 200 subscribers. So not many of you have heard me talk about Omar. Now, when I entered the world of crypto in November of 2017, I did what many people did. Of course, a lot of Googling and researching, of course, but also hopping on YouTube to get perspective from people that have been in the space for a while, have opinions and thoughts on where the whole asset class is going. And one of the people that I came across and really enjoyed watching was Omar on Crypto's News. And I can't remember how big his channel is, but he's got over 100,000 subscribers, absolutely massive. And so I was watching him when I jumped in November of 2017. It was at a point, I mean, I was watching him, well, pretty much everything he'd post, like on a daily basis. And that's not all that I was looking at. There was Data Dash, and there's a bunch of other guys that I was really looking into. And then I started to look into XRP, and naive Moon Lambo, November, December era, 2017 era Moon Lambo. How naive you were. You didn't understand, Moon Lambo, the tribalism at play here. I really had no clue at this point. But, you know, Omar would jump into the FUD talking points about how you can freeze XRP, which isn't true. I even went out of my way to point that out to him. And he was very kind, actually. By the way, I like Omar. Like I do like him. He comes off as very likable. And he responded to me. He's always responded to me, whether it's on Twitter or on in the YouTube comment section, in a very civil manner. So nothing personally negative whatsoever. I just firmly disagree with the stance in the world way that like the crypto asset class and adoption is going to play out. But you know, he said, "Okay, I'll be sure to share your point of view," or something like this, because I didn't even ask him to do that. But in the comment section, I was just like, "Hey, XRP can't be frozen, just so you know. Da 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 da. Here's the reasons." And then, like, it wasn't but a few days later, I caught him in another video talking about how XRP can be frozen. I was like, oh my god, like, where is this stuff coming from? Where is this coming from? It couldn't be more clear that this is not true. And mind you, at this point, I think maybe it could have been early January 2018, but the point is, like, I had just begun my whole journey of figuring out what is actually going on in the world of crypto and the asset class and how I think things might actually play out. Like, it's so obvious. Why are you continuing to push a false narrative, especially when there's facts to should sway you to say the opposite and things like that. And so anyway, you know, I don't know that he's ever acknowledged publicly that, you know, XRP can't be frozen or this and that. But I wanted to say, so just understand, although on a personal level, nothing but positive stuff to say about him. He's coming from a different point of view. It's the Bitcoin maxi type point of view. Maybe maxi is not the right word for him, actually. He does talk about other projects, and that it's just he's anti-XRP. Here's the best way to phrase it. Ideologically, he seems to be not a fan of banks. So there you go. That's what you need to know. And it seems to be like that's why when people have opinions like that, it forms their beliefs. And it should be for me. I'm not like that. I don't need to have emotions form my beliefs. I need to be presented facts and then form opinions based on those facts. But in my opinion, from what I've seen from him, he has these opinions, and then that kind of forms the worldview. It's completely opposite. So check out this tweet from him. The biggest dissonance that XRP holders have is that they still think that major banks would rather use a product that they can't completely control. Banks using XCurrent is not banks using XRapid. XRP has just as many obstacles to overcome as any project, and maybe more. No. But anyway, let me just respond. Here's what Galgatron responded with, okay? He wrote, yes, old FUD. The reality is that XCurrent positions all their banking customers for the inevitable transition to XRapid. But I wouldn't expect you to know their game plan. You'll get it when it happens, though. Ba-bam. Exactly. That is so well said. People are not going to acknowledge it until there's nothing you can do but acknowledge, yes, this is the way the world operates now. Anyway, so Omar wrote, what makes such a move inevitable to you, seriously asking? And I'm sure he's being genuine. Again, like he seems like the type of guy you'd want to sit down and have a beer with, like very likable. I just think the way he thinks that things are going to fold is just wrong. But anyway, Galgatron wrote 2 things. Number 1, it's always been their strategy to connect banks to RippleNet, which avails both XCurrent and XRapid to their customers. Number 2, as liquidity in XRP grows, larger bank-sized transfers over XRapid become possible and cheaper than Nostro-based payments. And Omar responded, fair. That's what he wrote, fair. And then he writes, number 1, as far as I know, banks can already use both on RippleNet, but none I'm aware of are enticed by XRapid, though seem interested in at least trying XCurrent. Ripple pays many of these companies to test RippleNet. Number 2, this doesn't make adoption of XRP inevitable, #competition. Okay. Galgatron writes, you're putting the cart before the horse. Banks cannot use XRapid at this time because the liquidity in XRP isn't there yet. It's enough for remittances today, though, as evidenced by MoneyGram's utilization. And with certainty, cheaper equals adoption, business 101. And I also want to point out, in terms of Omar's point about competition, okay, conceptually, that's certainly something worth talking about. Who's competing with Ripple, and what cryptocurrency is being positioned to compete with XRP for the purpose of utilization as a bridge currency for cross-border payments? Okay, and that last bit, what cryptocurrency is being positioned in competition to XRP as a bridge currency for cross-border payments? Oh man, if I were the type that would edit videos rather than just talk, I would have inserted the little cricket soundtrack right there. There are none. There is no other cryptocurrency that is being positioned as a bridge currency for cross-border payments, the way in which Ripple seeks to have XRP utilized in the real world, the way in which it is being utilized in the real world. So if you want to talk about competition, fine. And you can talk about payments, and that's pretty reasonable too. It's okay to talk about competition. I'm just saying nobody else is even attempting this. That in and of itself is kind of mind-boggling to me. When I figured that out, I was like blown away. You know, I entered the space in late 2017, and by the time early 2018 rolls around, I'm like, everybody keeps talking about Stellar being a competition. They're not doing the same thing. They don't have the same business plan. You've got Swift that won't acknowledge that they have no solution for the Nostro problem, the settlement train wreck that Swift is. They still to this day have no solution. It's amazing. And, you know, given that there's nothing else being positioned for this use case, what the hell do you think is going to happen? You know? That's why I feel like I'm Nostradamus or something here. Like, it will come to pass that the XRP will be widely adopted for this use case where there are high-friction corridors in terms of payment and settlement. Why the hell would it not? It makes all the sense in the world. Now, what Galgatron had to say here rings true, and this is absolutely undeniably true. You need the liquidity there, and it just isn't there. It is for as Galgatron points out, The remittances, those are typically, a lot of them are smaller quantities, but if you're talking about, if the world were just required suddenly to start using XRP, nobody could just mandate that, of course, but I'm just saying in some crazy hypothetical world where that happened, at this exact second, there's not enough liquidity for that. There just isn't. So the whole ecosystem will have to be built out over the time, but the bottom line for me is if you can offer a product that, a service that's, it's at a better price, better customer experience, why, and that is the combination of XRP and XRapid, why would that not take hold, especially given that there's no competition to that? And most cryptocurrencies are so damn slow and costly, you couldn't even attempt to position any other cryptocurrency for this use case. There are tons of cryptocurrencies out there that use proof of work, which is quite slow, and you could say Lightning Network is a solution. Well, let's wait and see how that pans out. That's a centralized solution requiring pre-funding of accounts. Highly skeptical. And so Omar responded to Galgatron. He wrote, "Why the need for XRP? A settlement token for banks' existence in the average person's portfolio. Because Ripple needed money. Ripple isn't there to make people rich. Except for maybe themselves being a company. What's odd to me is that fair distribution doesn't matter to you." I want to respond to this before I read Galgatron's response. So the first part. Why the need for XRP, a settlement token for banks' existence in the average person's portfolio? Why would it be there? See, that shows me a fundamental misunderstanding. Like he has no understanding of the way in which this ecosystem works. God bless his soul. Okay, it's funny because you can go back to the chicken and the egg problem, because in order for banks to use XRP, it has to have value, and why would it have value if banks aren't using it, right? Okay, that's the chicken and egg problem, right? That is so frequently cited. Valid question, but it's interesting the way in which that has been solved, and the ecosystem continues to be fleshed out. Thankfully, Bitcoin, look, it's not like I'm anti-Bitcoin at its core, and I'm appreciative of the fact that it was created, but Bitcoin was created, right? And because of that, it kind of opened the floodgates, and a whole bunch of other coins were created, and XRP was one of them, right? XRP was one of the ones that came after Bitcoin. And given that nobody understood back then, and it's funny, a decade later, people still don't know how this asset class is going to pan out. People threw money into every coin that has ever existed to different degrees. One of them, XRP, highly speculative. Because most people don't get it. Most people don't even know what the hell they just threw their money in. They're still figuring stuff out. Most people aren't as well researched on XRP as you and I. And I assume this is an XRP-centric channel, so if you're listening, I assume you're probably pretty well versed on what's going on here. And if not, please keep listening, and I'm happy to share all of my knowledge with you anyway. But given that's the case, that's how the problem is solved. People didn't, this is seriously, legitimately how this is unfolding. People didn't know which coins would win. Money was thrown into all of them, and now we're seeing, oh my gosh, Ripple's having progress, XRapid exists, and you can actually use XRP as a bridge currency thanks to XRapid today. So how does this whole ecosystem work? Why does XRP need to be in the average person's portfolio? Well, how about, there's a bunch of different reasons. So right now, it's fine, still speculative, but hell, gold's speculative. It's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, as something that, as far as humans are concerned, has actual value. Well, same thing with XRP. Same thing. And given that there's this frenzy around the technology, that's the reason I'm happy to put my money in, because I think there's an opportunity for it to be worth so much more than it is today. But even if it weren't, say the frenzy had died down, the asset class will be here to stay, and people are going to want to have, in terms of portfolio allocation, just from personal investment perspective, you're going to want diversity. This is a brand new asset class. People the world over will be putting money into this. It's just that since we recognize it first, it's not financial advice, but I personally believe that there's a great opportunity for substantial returns. Now, people can invest in it decades from now, but the frenzy will have died down by then, I suspect. Certainly, I think it's reasonable to suspect that. And there probably, in most cases, won't be an opportunity at that point for these types of return, but the asset class will still be here. And people understand that if a businesses need to use a particular cryptocurrency, it has utility, it has staying power, and people feel safe putting their money into it. So why is it need to be in a person's portfolio? Well, not exactly for the bank's sake, but since we know the banks have to use it, yeah, it's got staying power, does it not? That's how the ecosystem works. That's it. And he doesn't know that. Omar here doesn't know that. Here's what Galgatron's response was. Don't confuse a single XRP use case for XRP limitations. Ripple's use case, blow up XRP, and infinite non-Ripple use cases that are evolving. In parentheses, he writes Coil. Ripple's building out the Internet of Value with those sales. What are Bitcoin miners building with their 1.6 billion of quarterly mined coins? And then he has a separate tweet. And he writes, and don't talk to me about fair distribution when the top 2.8% of wallet addresses control 95% of the supply of Bitcoin. Exactly. Awesome stuff there. I want to share this too real briefly. This is Matt Hamilton's response to Omar's initial tweet. And I want to share that with you too because I think that he's generally quite insightful and knowledgeable. So anyway, he wrote, they can choose to adapt or they can choose to die out. And he's referencing the banks here. It is as simple as that. I think we are likely all going to agree that open, decentralized digital assets of some form or another are going to play a big part of the future financial world. So there you go. So there's a few different opinions. You got Matt Hamilton, you got Omar, you got Galgatron, and you got Moon Lambo. That's what I think about it. And to me, just to be clear, when I cover stuff like this, I really enjoy thinking critically. I enjoy hearing people's opinions that are different than my own. So for me, this is purely like a fun thing to think through. No venom whatsoever from my side. I hope I don't even need to say that. But like I said, I really mean Omar seems like a good guy. I just think that the way in which he's thinking through this, I just flatly think that it's a wrong view. And that's it. It really is that simple. So, but a fun conversation, I think, regardless. All right, next piece here. Check this out. This is from @MagicPoopCannon. I'm going to call him MPC for the rest of the video, so I don't have to keep saying that. It's funny. I think, I'm not sure if I think this anymore, actually. I've always said I have the stupidest name in the entire XRP community, but does this guy have me beat? Because if so, that's going to make me bad. Because I want to have the stupidest name, and if his name is more stupider than mine, that ain't cool. You guys are going to have to tell me. I don't know. Who is the worst name? Anyway, so he tweets this out, and this is a fun thing to think through also. He writes, XRP, and this is 3 tweets. I'm just going to read them all together, though. I got to take a sip of water. I'm sorry. I've been getting at it too much here. Anyway, XRP has a unique ability to attain a market cap higher than any other crypto because it's an asset designed to more value. If it sees large-scale adoption, hundreds of billions or trillions could be transacting on XRP through the global economy. The same point can't be made for other cryptocurrencies because they don't have the capability to the infrastructure to facilitate the movement of value like that. So, abandon the idea of market cap restrictions. With XRP, it's a nonsensical talking point. All other cryptocurrencies depend on what investors are willing to invest for market cap appreciation. XRP's market cap is that, plus the global use of it as a value transferring machine. Banks and exchanges could use hundreds of billions in XRP without missing a beat. Okay, so let me go back to the very first part, because what he's saying as far as what's this going to look like in the end, once the dust settles, in terms of market cap, who are the biggest winners? Who are the biggest losers? Okay, and so he wrote, again, XRP has a unique ability to attain a market cap higher than any other crypto because it's an asset designed to move value. All right. Okay. Look, I have said many times in this channel that given all of the knowledge publicly available today, it makes sense to me that one day XRP would dethrone Bitcoin and become #1 in terms of market cap, because I think that utility matters. It will win the day. I think people will eventually figure this out. Now, things could change if there's other coins that come out where I can see they're really getting adopted. Well, I'm going to talk about that too, and that's fine, because I want multiple winners. I want XRP to be a huge one, and I think it's reason to believe that it can be. But I'm just not a maximalist of any coin, okay? There's no tribalism coming here from Moon Lambo whatsoever. But as far as the reason, okay, the unique ability to attain a market cap than any other crypto because it's designed to move value. Well, it goes back to what I was saying just a little bit ago when I was talking about the other topic in terms of why, remember I was talking about why non-bank entities would hold XRP. And I was talking about the chicken and the egg problem, right? And so it's not the case that because there is a problem of this magnitude that needs to be solved that XRP would then have the value. That's actually backwards. That's the reason I want to point this out, and that's why I was getting into the specifics. It is actually completely backwards. It's actually the case that people have to assign it value based on their belief of utility, ideally. That's why I've put my money. If there were no utility, I wouldn't be happy to regularly purchase XRP. I would not. I really wouldn't. They would have bought a little bit early on 2 years ago and then just be like, okay, let's see what happens and stop. But I researched it and found out, oh my God, utility, there's real utility here, and I think that matters. Okay. So as people figure that out and they put more money in, that increases the amount of liquidity. That's the important part. Because once the liquidity's there, that's when you can have a larger actual usage. So it's not that there's a need for usage and now money flows into XRP, unless you mean it specifically, unless I'm misunderstanding him. And what he actually means is the fact that there is this need inspires the confidence for investors like me, Moon Lambo, to come in and put my hard-earned money into XRP. If that's what he means, okay, but the way I read it, it seems backwards to me. And I respect to MPC's opinion here. I just like to think critically, and that's, again, what I'm doing here. That's purely it. So definitely any of the people contributing to any of these conversations, certainly no disrespect whatsoever. I just think it's fun to think through these things. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me. Because I'd like to think through it. And plus, if you can convince me that I'm wrong, that'd be super duper. Because then I can stop being wrong. You know, I don't want to be wrong. It's fun to think through this stuff. And I feel firmly about all sorts of stuff. And I'm opinionated, but I'm not opinionated for the sake of it. I've thought through this stuff for the last couple years, daily, for crazily long periods of time. So, that said, I can still be wrong. I'm a human. I can be wrong about stuff. Just point out where if you think I am. So, XRP in terms of market cap, yeah. Based on all the available knowledge today, why, if nothing were to change, why would XRP not one day be #1 in terms of market cap? Not that that's the end-all, be-all, and I think still the market cap's somewhat of a silly calculation anyway, with not a lot of use or meaning. But we'll save that. That's a conversation for another time. All right, let's go ahead and hop along here. There's this tweet from XRP Boy. You my boy, XRP Boy. And there's a link actually back to one of my old videos. And there's a clip that I covered in here. I thought I'd just read this just because it was fun. And then he tagged David Schwartz in this also. But anyway, here's part of what I wrote. And I just wanted, even in a vacuum, I thought that this would be a fun thing to just read real quick. And so it is, this is David Schwartz. We need our competitors to succeed. We need the ecosystem to succeed. An analogy I sometimes make is your cell phone. Everybody in this room probably has a cell phone on them. And that would allow them to tweet about this talk right now, but they don't own that cell phone to tweet about this talk. They hold that cell phone because there's an entire ecosystem from Twitter's competitors. And so this video is about the need, if you want to check it out, it's from a couple months ago again, that I put out, and it was about, in part, largely, about the importance of just having a thriving ecosystem. And that's why I am not a maximalist. I don't need XRP to be the only winner. I'd like it to be a winner, but I would like there to be other winners as well. You know, other coins that can be used for different use cases. That sounds awesome to me. Okay, even if I don't have money in them, because I understand that a thriving asset class will be good for what I have put my money in, as long as I've invested wisely and I'm correct that XRP is actually adopted. So there you go. All right, next tweet. This is from @Hodlaguy. Be prepared for XRP to wipe out a year's worth of losses in 48 to 72 hours. When it finally is let loose, are you ready? Are your bags packed? XRP will pump again, and it will be hard and fast. And I liked it. I liked the tweet, so I wanted to share it. It didn't tag me in or anything, but I came across it in my feed. And I just wanted to point out just one simple thing. In terms of price action, it's easy to get frustrated with XRP price being flat for so long. But that's why I want to make sure I've got my position ready, because history shows that when things move, they move fast. Sometimes in an afternoon, your face will melt off just because of the entire asset class getting in a frenzy, or even if it's just XRP. Because think about it, end of 2017, December, XRP started going nuts, seemingly out of nowhere, right? So I don't know. This is not at all buying, selling, holding advice, but leave the emotions at the door and just look at it. Look at a chart if you're ever getting a little like iffy about things. That's what I do anyway. All right, last piece here, and I got to wrap up this video. CoinDesk.com. France says it will block Facebook Libra in Europe. The French finance minister has said the nation plans to block Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency in the EU over concerns that it poses a threat to sovereignty of national currencies. According to the independent newspaper on Thursday, Bruno Le Maire, economy and finance minister of France, said, quote, "I want to be absolutely clear. In these conditions, We cannot authorize the development of Libra on European soil. And the piece continues. Le Maire was speaking at the opening of an OECD conference on blockchain and cryptocurrencies in Paris, France. The Telegraph, meanwhile, adds that Le Maire said it would be a global currency held by a single player, which has more than 2 billion users around the world. The monetary sovereignty of states is under threat. That's a broken sentence because it's crypto media, and oh my god, crypto media! Just read your freaking work. Look, as far as it pertains to this type of thinking here, Libra is backed by a basket of fiat currencies. Without the currencies, it has no value. It's not to be traded, or if it is, then it has been announced. It's not to be traded on cryptocurrency exchanges, for example. It's not like it's just going to have some sort of market value. It's got a value because the banks say, or whoever, whatever partners associated, say it is value, and then they back it, which makes it centralized, right? Okay. If the currencies backing it are required for it to exist and have value, to what degree are fiat currencies actually at risk because of Libra? And I haven't finished. Look, I don't have an absolutely firm opinion on this, but I think I just posed a really legit question there. And it's a fair question for regulators too. Of what's this going to do to our sovereign currency? Okay, fine, that's fair as well. I want to see more answers, and I'm just saying here, if it is the case, and that's my understanding anyway, that Libra will always be backed by fiat currencies. I don't understand how fiat currencies can be brought down. To me, it just makes no damn sense, because then Libra's just not valuable. So if somebody could answer that, and it could be in part that there's not enough information out there, or maybe if there's a reasonable answer, maybe I missed it. I'm not perfect. I don't have all knowledge. But I think it's a reasonable question to pose. So if anybody's got that for me, please let me know. Beyond that, governments be freaking out, bro. What can I say? I better wrap it up. This video is going much longer than I intended, so I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope that you found some of what was covered here to be interesting, entertaining, insightful to whatever capacity that's reasonable. But I would like to hear what you think. Feel free to drop some comments below. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!